Naam, assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh, mtazamaji wa Gumzo, karibu pale ulipo. Mimi naitwa Mohamed Ghassan. Leo kwenye gumzo letu maalum tunazungumza na Friedrich Kluch, mtengenezaji filamu maarufu ya Omani katika eneo la Afrika Mashariki, ambayo tayari tangu imezinduliwa takriban mwaka mmoja uliopita imejishindia tuzo kadhaa ulimwenguni. Filamu hii inahusu mahusiano ya kihistoria ya muda mrefu yaliyopo na kidugu baina ya watu wa Oman na watu wa upwa wa Afrika Mashariki. Leo tunazungumzia kuhusu filamu yenyewe na mkurugenzi huyu na mtayarishaji huyu wa filamu, lakini pia tunazungumzia kuhusu dhima ya filamu kwa ujumla wake katika kuunganisha madaraja baina ya watu. Kwa bahati nzuri, au niseme kwa bahati tu bila kusema ni nzuri au mbaya, imebidi mazungumzo haya tuyafanye kwa lugha ya Kiingereza. Kwa hivyo mtanivumilia watazamaji wangu wa Kiingereza changu kibovu, lakini kwa sababu mwenzangu ambaye tunafanya mazungumzo haya hawezi kuzungumza lugha yangu ya Kiswahili na mimi pia siwezi kuzungumza lugha yake ya Kijerumani kwa ukamilifu, kwa hiyo tukakutana katikati kwenye Kiingereza chetu, Kiingereza cha watu ambayo tumekitumia katika kufanya mazungumzo haya, lakini natarajia kwamba wengi wenu mtaweza kupata kile ambacho tulikusudia mkipate kupitia gumzo hili la Ghassani. Kwanza, kabla ya kuanza mazungumzo yangu na Friedrich Kluch hapa, tutaangalia kipande kidogo cha kidokezo cha filamu yenyewe na baadhi ya maeneo ambako ilipata tuzo, ikiwemo mjini Tunis, Tunisia, pamoja na nchini Bahrain. Karibu sana.
Thank you.
لا
هنا صوت مومباسا.
200 mpya. Hey! Kuna jamaa wakaenda kupaka paka na kuhanya wakaanza kujizungumza wenyewe.
أنا وطن في زنجبار. غرفي الآن فارغة، ضخامتها تذكرني بعظمة الأيام الماضية حين كنت أعرف ببيت العجائب.
شكرا لكم. Thank you.
منحت إلى برنامج بيت العجائب وعصر القوافل بين سلطنة عمان والزنجبار شركة ديماكس ميونخ سلطنة عمان.
Please, dear Friedrich, welcome to our program.
Well, thank you very much, Asante Sana. It's a pleasure for me to share with you this discussion and with your audience our experiences and our intentions. And I'm happy to answer all of your questions.
Thank you. And the first question being, tell us a little bit about the documentary. Where the idea came from, and why did it came into being?
Well, as some of your viewers will know, we had produced a series of 3 documentary films called Abnai Sindbad, Sons of Sinbad. Before, we co-produced this series together with the German University of Technology in Muscat. And you know, there's a relation between Germany and East Africa. It ended more than a century ago, but still there are some connections. There's a certain awareness for East African history and topics in Germany. So this was not new for me. But of course, with this first project, Sons of Sinbad, we started to get acquainted with regarding the relation between the Sultanate of Oman and East Africa. The third episode of this first series, Sons of Sinbad, it was centered on Said bin Sultan, the shift of power from Muscat to Zanzibar. And the storyline was about 4 of his children, 2 of his daughters, 2 of his sons. And with the research and the filming that went into this episode, I got acquainted with this special relationship and with the wonderful cultural, technological, language, heritage. It's in so many fields, clothing, food, behavior, rules of life, religion. So there's this very intense relation that probably evolved through the monsoon winds. The Omanis are very good sailors, so they used to travel the Indian Ocean a lot, going south in wintertime and going north in summer. And the monsoon wind will carry your sailing ship all the way down to Mozambique if you go south. So there's this historical relationship that built up, and it had different phases of, it is a sort of migration. It is sometimes it's trading only, sometimes it's settling. And in the 19th century, it becomes, of course, a migration movement. And as a filmmaker that usually works on historical subjects, I looked around and I couldn't find any films, any documentary films on the topic. So I suggested to do something about it and focus a whole project on the relationship between the peoples of East Africa and the Sultanate of Oman. And from this idea, this project evolved. And I suggested the idea, but there was a tender, there was an official invitation for other film production companies as well. There was a pitching session in an airport hotel in Muscat at some time. There were Frenchmen, people from US. There were a few Oman-based companies. But in the end, my company, DEMAX, we won the pitch and we got the tender. And then we started doing special research. And well, finally, alhamdulillah, this project came into being. And now we're in the phase of the distribution. And we want to make the most of it. And of course, this is aimed not only at the people of the Sultanate, but also to the people of
East Africa.
East Africa. And yes, this is the moment in time that we're trying to reach out.
Yeah, maybe for our viewer who wants to know at least the pitch of the story, connection between or connectivity between East Africa and Oman. Did you choose the specific areas in which these relationships are being displayed, or you went into general relationship? Because as you said, the immigration from Oman to East Africa was not only in 19th century, it was of course before that, maybe many, even 3 to 4 or even more centuries there. But then at the climax of it, there was the rule, and this is coming to be political. And this has been a thorny issue in East Africa, the role from Omani in East Africa. How did you sail on these points?
Well, we are very aware of the long history of this relationship, and for instance, in the first episode, we are referring to the first documents that really show that this relation existed. We have the fatwa inquiries from the islands of Kilwa that went all the way to Nizwa at the time. 1,000 years ago. And then, of course, we all know that in the fight against the Portuguese, the Omanis played a very big role in the liberation of Mombasa, for instance. And of course, many of the fighters at the time, they remained there to, to secure the place. And then they started settling. We have a Baluchi talking about this in our film as well. So you can see that there's a gradual migration, but of course, the shifting of power in the 19th century, maybe 1830, 1840, there are different views about that. By Said bin Sultan takes it to a new dimension. So we started the 3-part series with him. But not forgetting about the things that happened before, we are mentioning them. But basically, the narrative line, it's his lifetime that we're talking about in relation to his presence in East Africa. But what we wanted to achieve is a universal view of the things that were exchanged from East Africa to Oman, and from Oman to East Africa. And as I mentioned before, this almost all fields of life have been affected by this relationship. And you have the Swahili language when you visit your friends in Muscat. You have the kofia you're wearing, and yeah, I mean, there's so many things that you have religion, you have the families, yes, and you have through marriage. There have been these very intense and close bonds, and of course all of this ended not totally, but there was a big cut in the 1960s. So and then some of this awareness for this beautiful exchange that had been going on for centuries, it got lost. And yes,
there is a good point that I want to, because it is what I think our viewers might be interested to know, that the film is about itself breaking back these bridges, which was being, as a cut in the waves or shock waves, I would say, of the 1960s and forward, in which then there was demonization of the relationship, which was there before, as you said, existed, and in every phase, every angle, every category of life. So how did you face this demonization
Well, I think the biggest element, the most important element was to choose the right characters. My documentaries, they are always based on a character that can serve as a key figure, who's right in the middle of this exchange. So we are not just choosing someone, but somebody who has important role in the exchange between the cultures. And when you do this, you take a decision, but you don't take a side. And that's that's the principle. So when we say, okay, the first episode is on Said bin Sultan and his lifetime, the second one is on Tipu Tip, the third one is on Mubarak al-Hinawi, then of course you have your narration has a focus, a personal focus. It will be based around the lifetimes of these people. It will take you to their time. So basically, with the Said bin Sultan, we have the first part of the 19th century. With Tipu Tip, we have the second half of the 19th century. And with Mubarak al-Hinawi, we have the first part of the 20th century. So we are covering, this was, when we selected the key figures, our protagonists, we wanted to cover this time span, 150 years of intense Omani presence on the Swahili coast. And I keep saying, when we choose Omani, they have Omani ancestry. Of course, Said bin Sultan is an Omani emperor, leader. There's a Omani focus to the selection of the people. But we want, this, what you call demonization, when you choose these characters and you see what they have done and how they have struggled to enable and facilitate this exchange, to bring it to a new level, then I think this will be a good argument against this kind of demonization, even in the case of Tipu Tip. And so, I mean, looking closely at these key characters, the audience has the chance of, getting new information about the characters, seeing them in the context of their lifetime. And of course, there is violence. Yes, there. It's
history. It is how it is.
Yes, it's their lifetime, and we are not avoiding this information. There is fighting, but the audience will be enabled to see it in context, and I think this can very much help to get over this demonization, and by choosing protagonists and not doing, you choose a narrative way based on real historical characters. And we're not doing this in a journalistic manner, where we do interviews with every side involved. We do interviews with experts in their respective fields, in archaeology and in history, in literature. So we tell the life stories of our protagonists, and then we go on and speak to the experts and have them explain to the audience what these key characters achieved and what their intentions were, and if the intentions were reached or not. So this is our approach.
Actually, my question on demonization, it goes also on the question of sanitization. On the other way, I mean, in this both parts of the Indian Ocean. In other part, we'll be talking about when you are doing anything about this, it is you are trying to either demonizing the other or sanitizing the other. You have answered very well on how you avoid and you are trying to make as much as good possible the demonization to be minimized. And let's go to sanitization now. I mean, on the East African side, they'll say that you are trying to sanitize the history. These people were here, of course, and they did this and this and this. They show you all possible negative things. And now coming here with a documentary, so that they were good people, they had good intention, things like this. How do you explain this?
Well, I mean, you can simply refer to the facts, and when you look at life even today on the Swahili coast, there's so much evidence. You have all these architectural, archaeological monuments that are part of this shared heritage, and yeah, I think a good example is the collapse of the Bet Al Ajaib.
Yes.
In December 2021, I think. I'm not, but when you see that the people of Zanzibar, the people of Stone Town, how they are suffering, at the risk of completely losing a symbol of their identity, then I'm sure that there's a lot of local awareness for the beauty and the richness of this shared heritage, and the risk of losing it by negligence, by simply being unaware of it. It's there, but events like this collapse, they bring to the surface how much this has become part of East African identity. And I think, of course, there's a lot of ideology in place, and a lot of narratives that deny or reduce this heritage, but I think in the end the facts are there, and basically everyone can see it in their own lives, in what they see and do every day, whether it's the clothes or sugar. I mean, there's so many things that were started and began to raise the economy and of the whole region. There's so much that you can observe today, and it's a certain, probably what is most important is what for me is the essence of Swahili culture, of this coastal culture that has developed over the centuries with a lot of Omani influence, but not only. It's a mix of Africa, of India, of Oman, and of course there's a Shirazi tradition as well that comes in, and you have this diverse culture. It is very open-minded. It's very tolerant, and you have all these communities. Old Mombasa is the perfect example of that, and this is a model of life that of course it was challenged, but by ideology. But I think it's still there. It never went away, and it's embracing diversity as a value, a common value. And I think our project is aimed at raising the awareness for this essence of Swahili culture, and since everybody can experience it in their daily life, even today, more than 60 years after the end of the Sultanate. It is still there, and I think it is something that we need on a global level. I think that Swahili culture was and it is something that the world could build on regarding the conflicts that we have with migration, which is probably the biggest social problem at the moment. And yes, so I think we simply have to look at the good things there to learn, because this is what we really need to solve our modern problems, our contemporary problems. So let's have more Swahili culture in Europe, in Asia, all over the place. I think it's a model that needs to be exposed, that deserves exposure to a global audience. But of course, the local and regional audiences in Oman and in East Africa, they should be the first to really enjoy this awareness.
And now we come to this point that since the introduction of this idea and of coming to make to be a book and then a film, it has been about 2 years now. And of course, you told me earlier in our off-recorded talk that the film itself has been viewed and of course being displayed in other exhibitions, and it has received many awards. At least I can say many, but it is still a young one. So then I want our listener and our viewer here to get this gist on where and when the film was exhibited and which award that it received.
Well, there's an institution called the Arab States Broadcasting Union.
Mm-hmm.
It combines all of the Arab-speaking channels, especially in Arabia and Northern Africa. And they have a trade show and a festival each year. And last year, when we presented our project, we were awarded the first prize for documentary. Mm-hmm. A few weeks ago, there was a festival in Bahrain. Again, we received the Golden Palm for the first prize for a documentary. We haven't been this successful in East Africa. We attended and we were officially selected to the Zanzibar Film Festival last year. And we submitted our films to the Uganda Film Festival, for instance, to Kinshasa, the Thikin festival, but we were not accepted without any explanation, which is, the common way to handle it. But what we experience is that in the Arab-speaking world, it is, these films are awarded, and in Swahili-speaking countries we have problems, and in East Africa to get exposure and awareness. So this is something we're still working on, and having this conversation is part of our initiative to maybe amend the situation.
Mm-hmm. Do you have any idea, maybe any guess on why it has been very difficult to get into recognition when it comes to East African countries?
Well, maybe it's the choices we made. I mean, we had a co-production partner in the Sultanate of Oman, Nizwa magazine, and the main funding we received from the Sultanate of Oman. So it is, and we chose 3 protagonists with who were Omani or had Omani ancestry. But as mentioned before, you have to make choices.
Yep.
And we chose these key figures because for us, they are a key to show and expose this relationship and the things that developed out of it. So we made these choices, and of course, this looks like we're taking sides, and we're not giving enough attention to what may be called an African perspective. So that's why we brought in experts from all sides. We have African experts, we have Indian experts, we have Western experts, we have Arabian experts. So for us, the challenge was to get as close as possible to the historical reality. I wouldn't call it truth, but we wanted to get to the facts. Those people carrying the ivory tusks on those foot caravans from the interior to the coast, were these slaves or were these free men and women who at their time were, an elite even in their communities? And then you find the expert on caravan economy and you talk to him, and this is what we have in the film is what he says. So we are trying to transmit facts, and with all of these facts, they have not been disputed. Everything that we have in the film is as close to the historical reality as possible, from what we get, from the feedback we got so far. So we didn't do any mistakes. We didn't give wrong information, but of course we made choices regarding our narrational approach. So maybe this is a reason for the reluctance to adopt this view. But
because you are challenging the comfortable obviously established reality that was being official narrative of what happened in the 19th century and before.
So my suggestion, even to the festival organizers, it was to combine our films with something similar that shows African heroes. That's but until now we haven't found the right films to do a sort of combination. And I think that the facts will not contradict each other, but of course the perspective will be another one. And yes, okay, so we're still struggling to get more exposure in East Africa, but we still have time. These films, they will not lose their relevance within the next months. I mean, they can stay. They are made in a way that you can, even in 10 or 20 years, you can still use them. And we do have ideas about how to add to the impact of this project by initiating maybe a joint textbook commission with the Swahili part and Arabian part. So there are several ideas what to do to enhance
you mean that beyond screening, beyond filming, there is some more about this film that is to be seen by the public, by the audience. And can you describe more? What are these that you have been planning to get the film more into the public, in the people, not as the screening one, or maybe as a plus hybrid filming and some other things?
Well, of course, you can use the project. We do have a book, an illustrated book as well. And we have, for instance, stuff or topics that we couldn't fit into the films, like the Utendi as literary form that specially developed through this exchange between Arabia and East Africa. So we don't have it in the films, but we have it in the book. And you can use the book and the films as an encyclopedia. You can take little parts of it out of it, and production of halwa. It didn't make it into the film, but we filmed it. We have beautiful pictures. We did research, and so there's a lot of material that could be used, for instance, in the social science classes for the younger ones or for the older students, and shipbuilding techniques, composite shipbuilding, how to build houses with coral stone. I mean, there's so many things that we cover within these 3 episodes that you can use it as an encyclopedia and go for a certain topic, subject, and take it and then discuss it within your school classes. And this is I think this can be a good way to make use of what we have produced already, but put it in another context, put it into the schools, put it into history or social science classes, and then help it make its way into the minds of the young ones.
And you told me also you'd be having a chair, I mean, not chair, but having on the platform of ZIF this time also, not as a film, but the discussion. Tell me more about it.
Well, ZIF now has a new director, and Hatibu Madudu, and we see this what you might call a lack of response in East Africa. We approached him and said, okay, can you help us get more exposure? And he was very happy to consent, and his team. And we will have a panel discussion. At ZIF, they have a series of panels called Difficult Dialogue. And we will have a panel discussion in the evening of August 3rd this year. And we are asking experts and representatives from Zanzibar to be on the panel. And hopefully we will have a discussion that just like what we are doing now, gives us a chance to explain our intentions and to look for new ways of getting more exposure.
Yeah, and also about screening the film itself. I mean, you will be also doing it in East Africa this time as well.
Oh yes, we're planning to. While we are there, we want to do a pop-up cinema that moves from village to village and goes through Unguja and Pemba maybe for a week, and just setting up in the marketplaces. And then once the sun has set, we will start the show, and there will be, of course, some interaction, and if people have questions. So yes, we are reaching out, and through this mobile cinema project as well.
And because also I think it's the third or the second part of it is about Bark al-Hinawi, who was the governor of Mombasa. If I said Liwali also. Will you go also to Mombasa?
Yes, yes, we intend to go to Mombasa at the end of this month, at the end of July. On the 27th or 28th, Saturday or Sunday, we will have a screening in there's one big cinema in Mombasa, and we will book a hall, probably the biggest one they have, and ask all the people that contributed to the third episode on Mbarak al-Hinawi. And all the friends and families, we will ask them to come there, and we will ask, of course, the media, the local media as well, to come. And so, yes, this will hopefully, bring an audience to us in Mombasa.
Oh, thank you, Friedrich. Maybe the last question. If you have anything in particular you want to tell our viewers here on the film, and of course of the role of the film industry into the, as you said, I mean, you've been repeating this every time, every 2 sentences about shared heritage between the people of the world, in this case, between the people of Oman and East Africa. And of course, you mentioned earlier that you think that the Swahili model of life, it is a model that can be used anywhere in the world, because people have been living there with tolerance from many, many cultures for many, many years, and they have been establishing their own civilization using this Swahili culture, this Swahili model of life. So maybe these 2 points, what is your last word?
Yes, I think let's have more Swahili culture in the world, in our daily lives. This will help us cope with migration.
Yes.
This will help us cope with diversity. And yes, so I strongly believe that the world needs to know about these communities that existed and that still in a certain way exist, existing in the coastal culture of East Africa. But the big history, I mean, they were part of global history at some time, and our films are focusing on this time. And there's enough for us today to learn about it. Regarding the impact of films, I mean, this has been changing through my lifetime. I have been a filmmaker for 40 years now, and when I grew up, television was the big thing, and it was like social media today. And I wanted to be in television. This was something, you know, if you couldn't be a football player, you want to do something with television. And it was all encompassing at the time. In the 60s, you know, it was just opening up the local societies to the world. So this is what I wanted to do, and I became a filmmaker eventually. But the way we are doing films, or used to do them, doing films of 55, 60 minutes, or even 90 minutes, for the young ones today, this is not the way to reach them. We have to reimagine media and media making. And we're looking for new ways, even, you know, right now, even with the films that we have produced, we want to do a vertical version, because nowadays, you know, with the cell phones, they are not watched landscape mode, but vertical. So we do small chunks of the films, maybe 30 seconds, maybe 1 minute, maybe 2 minutes, and then we do a vertical version. So maybe you have an expert statement, and then you have a sequence that will be a clip in itself, and there will be a series of 30, 40, 50 clips for each episode. So we're looking for new ways of reaching the young audience, because things have changed so much. And, you know, I've been talking to a streaming service based in Cape Town, Showmax, and they have filed for Chapter 11 3 weeks ago. So even the streaming services, they are suffering, and maybe they will disappear in the next few months. So the viewing habits of the audience have changed completely, and if and we simply have to adopt to still reach the audience. And what we're doing here is will be helping a lot to not to lose this audience.
Yes, and about the shared heritage, this that it has been your talking point ever since and I like it very much that you've been considering shared heritage as the main focal point of your filming of your film. What about it?
When you ask yourself, who am I?
Who am
What
I?
is what is my identity? Where do you take all the elements from that will make you up in the way you behave, in the way you believe, in the way you do your daily life, your daily routines? Then when you're from East Africa, this will be Swahili culture.
Mm-hmm.
And you have to be aware where this comes from. This is nothing that popped out of nowhere. This is something that has developed. I mean, communities, they have to learn to cope with migration, with new people coming in, with people leaving, with intermarriage, with interaction. So, and in the end, there will be a way of life that you will inherit just by being born into this community. But this has been built up over centuries. And what we have to do is to be fair about contribution. The people who, and the communities that contributed to this identity. And I think we have to be less ideological about this and more open to really look at the facts. And then you will discover how much of Africa, of India, of Oman is part of your identity. And that's what I call shared heritage. And that's what we want to tell the people, that it is part of them.
Yeah, part of their DNA, for sure. Thank you very much, Frederick. I hope that our viewers and our listeners will be having time when you are in Mombasa and Zanzibar, Pemba and Unguja, to watch the film again. And maybe now that they'll be getting more meaningful insights of the film itself. It is about them. It's about their history. It's about their shared heritage, which is about our identity as Swahili people. I am proud to be a Swahili person myself, and I'm proud to be part of this shared heritage that we've been talking about here ever since. Thank you, and I wish you all the best.
It was a great pleasure. And Karibu Sana to everyone that is in end of July, beginning of August in Mombasa or Zanzibar. We welcome you to one of the shows that we're presenting there. Thank you very much.